everybody. Welcome to our Mentor Me panel. My name is Shaila Sarathi.
My name is Shikhar. I graduated from TISB a couple of years ago. I'm currently studying economics at the University of Chicago. I'm a rising second year and I'm really happy to be here. I hope I can be of some help.
Aryan, and again, I graduated with Shikhar, and I study a BSc in Accounting and Finance at the London School of Economics, and hope I can help you guys out today.
For me personally, it was quite a simple choice because it's been quite apparent what I was interested in from a very long time. I was always someone interested in kind of business or economics growing up, but I've also really enjoyed math. And so that kind of led me to a couple of options pretty easily. I was also influenced by my parents. My mother's an economics uh, major too back then. So that helped me a bit too. Lastly, I've also been someone who is kind of interested in the social sciences in the sense that I'm not really interested in like physics or chemistry. So I like understanding what people are doing and human decision making and things like that. But I also like data and numbers. So economics kind of fit in perfectly with me. I was also someone who didn't really know what he wants to do after college, and economics kept a lot of doors open for me and shut the doors I wanted to shut, like being a doctor. So
So for me, in the GCSEs, it was really clear that science just wasn't my cup of tea. The only thing I could do was math, econ, and business studies. And I asked my dad, like, what do I do? He's like, because you like math and business, why don't you just go spend a few weeks at our accountant's firm and just see what it's like? So I went there, got a feel of it, really understood what they were doing, and I was just able to do it. And that's when I really started researching about like the public equity space, the private equity space, started to get a feel of all the aspects. And everyone's like taking econ major, but then I'm just like, accounting and finance gives me the entire privilege to do econ with accounting, with finance, and even marketing and operations if I want to. So I'm like, why not? Let's just go for it.
So for starters, I'd like to talk about just the US schooling system too. So for those who don't know, it's quite liberal arts. So you can change your major quite easily. It's relatively flexible. So as someone studying in the US, uh, the pro of being an econ major, first of all, is you're not committing to too much. It keeps a lot of doors open to you. So as an economics major, I believe a very high percentage of them become lawyers. You can easily go into like finance and industries such as at Wall Street. You can go more into research, into academia. There are not many doors that are actually closed through economics. I guess the only one would be maybe becoming a doctor. So if you're quite clear on that not being a path for you, you can pretty much choose economics and rest easy knowing that you can do whatever else you want. Secondly, it's a major that allows you to gain a lot of skills that like upperclassmen have told me that employers want, which is like you do a lot of pros and cons and trying to evaluate what the best outcome is. Uh, you gain a lot of skills in math and statistics and things like that, which really keep you in good stead for whatever the jobs of the future are going to be. Because let's be honest, we really don't know what kind of jobs we're going to be doing like 15 years from now. So those are the primary positives. The negatives can be in some universities, it can be a bit theoretical, which can make it a little bit dry. Another negative could be is that in a lot of aspects of economics, we don't really know what's the correct answer. So you can go into a lot of classes and end up learning like a lot of models that say, if this is the case, then this is the answer. And if this is the case, this is the answer. But oftentimes you come out saying, wait, so I don't really know what the right answer is, which maybe could be different in like a subject such as physics. Then another negative is if you're not really, really interested in math, it can be difficult, but only in some universities. So you should figure that out. At U Chicago, it is probably the most quant heavy econ major in the US. So uh, I do have to do a lot of math and I enjoy it. And I think it helps me, but that's something that you have to decide for yourself.
And then to just jump back to one of the first cons that you said, which is that it can be very theoretical, it can be very dry. How is that experience like in your university?
As a caveat, I'd like to add, I've just finished my first year, so I've done like 3 or 4 econ courses. I've been doing like a lot of what we call the core, which is like other things like sciences and stuff like that. So in my experience, I haven't seen that yet. The courses I've done have been really interesting. I have heard from upperclassmen some courses can be a little bit dry, but I don't think that's particularly any more than any other math heavy major where sometimes you just have to learn things. Like I'm sure like in finance, learning financial accounting may not be the most interesting thing in the world, but you have to do it. So again, these are things that upperclassmen have told me. It's not my experience exactly yet, but hopefully I can come on here a year later and let you guys know.
So in the UK, the system is that you're doing, like, at least in social sciences, you do a bachelor's in social science and you major in basically one subject area. So for example, I did accounting and finance, you do econ, and the chance of you switching in the second year is close to zero. Like there is a possibility, but a lot of people really don't get it because grades are really important aspect while taking a transfer, which they put exceptionally high because they don't want people to transfer. Because a lot of people come in, let's say, for econ and history in the first year, and they're planning to switch to pure econ, and they're just like, the exclusivity of the entire course is gone. So the concept of a transfer isn't that common in the UK. Now, everyone says that it's a very rigid course structure. That completely depends on you as a student and your level of research while applying. Like for me, I could do in the first year, I did a module of math, module of statistics, module of accounting and finance, and a module of economics, which is really streamlined. But at the same time, I had friends who actually adjusted their course in such a way that they took a lower level of math and stats, but at the same time they did something like social policy or law. Obviously LSE being a social science school, you can't do something like biology, but you have universities such as Warwick which really help you focus on other subject areas as well. Like you can have a course in the engineering school. So there are universities which are moving towards the liberal arts school. In fact, LSE has started building a lot of infrastructure because they're expanding into a lot of other fields. For example, they just have a data science section which is recently opened up. So that was a big surprise to me. So about accounting and finance, the pros are that obviously it's flexible. You have a lot of options which are available to you. Definitely an econ degree might be more flexible. This leads to the second pro, which is the fact that, like, if I want to do my ICAEW, which is the Chartered Accountancy of the UK, or the International CFA, Certified Financial Analyst, I get a lot of like a lot of tests which are relieved because of degrees I do, because of modules I take. So that's a big plus point on me. The con is managerial accounting, extremely boring. But at the same time, you have your professors who know that certain content, which is really important for employers such as Deloitte and PwC when it comes to the corporate finance sector or the auditing sector in general, gets very dry. So they try to really engage you. Because for me, because I do accounting and finance, I have a separate module called the AC 100, which is only for our thing. Now, even though there are 200 students which are supposed to be there, around 40 people show up to the lecture. And that makes it really nice and interactive because the lecturer asks you questions. He puts up questions on the slides where he actually pauses the thing, puts a real world scenario, and he's like, okay, you're an auditor at Deloitte managing a 200 million pound fund. This is the scenario. What are you going to do? So it's really interesting, really interactive, and gives you a hint of the real world. So yeah, those ways I'm really happy with my course.
If you genuinely don't know what you're going to do and you're quite clueless in that aspect, I would strongly consider applying maybe to Canada or the US. I think it keeps a lot of options open if, of course, that makes sense for you. And this is not something that would work for everyone, but it allows you to really try a lot of things and decide maybe at the end of your second year, maybe the start of your third year, what you want to major in. Secondly, what I would say is that as much as we want to hype up how important like our majors are in undergrad, it's really not that important. It's, in my opinion, of course. I think what's a lot more important is the friends you make there, the kind of things you're doing outside school and things like that. A lot of my friends who are going into industries that perhaps I want to are majoring in psychology, are majoring in sociology, doing things that are completely different. And then showing like employers that they have like a different mindset, that they can add something different. So um, especially right now, I don't think you should worry too much about what your major is going to be, and think more about what you'd be interested in and what would you just want to study for 4 years. Even if, don't think of it as what do I want to do 20 years from now, just say what do I want to do for the next 2 3 years of my life, and apply based on that. Another thing I'd like to add is, um, probably universities don't want you to know this, but what you apply for and what you actually end up doing don't necessarily have to be the same thing. Say I applied for like a niche field of economics. Maybe I applied as a psychologist. If I reached U Chicago and I decided to be a doctor, I could. So you have a lot more time than you think you do. You're not committing to anything. But more than thinking about like applying to colleges with a major in mind, you should have like a passion in mind and try and go from that perspective and not to put too much pressure on your major.
And I want to jump in and say something that somebody from like one of my yesterday panels was talking about, like Rishi, and he made a very good point about how your HLs are your high school majors. And I thought that was a really nice analogy to give. But it's true, and you choose these subjects because you like them and you see yourself continuing them. So I would say, like, if you're entering 11th grade this fall, like, keep your HLs in mind. They are really important, and they should be subjects that you're actually interested in.
So in the UK, the system is that like the first year, it's definite modules which really help you explore the entire range. So I'm pretty sure by the end of IB, you should have a broad idea if you want to go into the social sciences or the sciences or the arts. Like that's something that you should have a basic idea. A lot of people I've met in the UK have conflicted between the arts and the social sciences. And over there, a university like LSE is completely off the charts because it's a pure social science school. So you would probably look at something like Edinburgh, Glasgow, Warwick. King's is a great option. So those are the universities you would look at. So again, research is key from the perspective. Don't go by prestige in the UK. Only look at the subject choices is what fascinates you. That's very important. Like just jump to the course outline directly, which is available on all the websites. So how it works is the first year you have like a range of modules which are compulsory, in which they really help you. They force you to explore all your options. And then the second and the third year, they want you to streamline it. But at the same time, there's a loophole. They make you streamline it by actually giving you, like, they're like, okay, you have to fill out 4 subjects, and you have a subject choice of like 25 subjects from like 10 departments. So you can really like explore all of them even in the third year if you want. Like in the third year, I can do economic history, government policy, international relations, and pure mathematical methods at the same time. So you need to be smart before you apply. And obviously, the option of a transfer is there. Like let's say you're not happy with the compulsory module relating to your degree in the first year, then what I would do if I was in your place is really slog through the first year, kill those grades, get a first, and then you're for sure allowed for a transfer in the second year.
Do you mean to transfer like out of the university or into a different degree within the same
A
university?
lot of people do look at transfers out of the university, but if you're in a college like Warwick, within the university might be an option for sure. Like in LSE, you can transfer into the econ major from accounting and all of these degrees if you have a high first. So they have like math minimum grades and stuff, and then you just transfer.
It's true that a lot of people say that if you go to college in the UK, there is you lose a lot of flexibility, but it's important to know that there is flexibility, and it's all about the research you do.
Just personally, I've always been someone who's really stretched myself, like even when I really didn't need to back in like middle school, like in IG too. So that's been something that's luckily come a little bit naturally for me. But looking back, I think the main thing you need to look at when trying to figure out your like balance between working and like socializing, thing like that, is like your priorities. So whenever you reach like say the IB, you need to like list down what your priorities are. I had a couple of hard HLs, like I had math and physics. So I knew those were going to be something that pulls a lot of my time. So I took a slightly easier language like Hindi, which I'd already done, and I didn't take too much time in studying. And so keeping that balance in mind, that you don't want to go all out too early and just not stretching yourself too much in your subject selection, that's important. uh, Secondly, what's really helped me with my work-life balance is when school is going on or when university is going on, I spend a lot of time either working or going and meeting my friends and having fun. don't spend too much time just by myself or being unproductive in the sense that I'm not either like actively meeting people and socializing or actively working. That's really helped me. I feel I get a few hours there, and I really, really, really prioritize my sleep like more than I probably should. Like I sleep for 9 hours a day pretty much no matter what. And so that leaves me fewer hours than other people. And that means I like try and be as efficient with my time as possible. What helps you keep work life balance, I guess, but I have not started working, but is like keeping a lot of lists and stuff. So make sure you're on top of what you need to do. Know generally what your next week is going to look like. Try not to have too many surprises if you can. And really, when you're working, work. And then when you're having fun, have fun. So don't try and waste any time. And that's honestly all I can offer. Also in the IB in particular, because I guess that's what matters more right now. I would say the best way to do that is don't just study, uh, you know, in a inefficient manner. So start with doing a lot of past papers. That's what matters the most. Like talk to upperclassmen, see like where you should spend your time. Like for each subject, what's the best way to get through it? Because there are like established best routes through these subjects. So you don't need to waste a lot of time doing things that are not useless. You should really use stuff like this platform to reach out to your mentor, say, hey, what's the best way for me to study this subject? And I'm sure they'll let you know. And a lot of times the answer is past papers, but yeah, so that's generally my advice.
For me, I think the main thing is play it smart. Like a lot of people gave me shit that, oh, IB business HL like is not going to get you into any university because it's an easy course. For the UK, regardless of your IB subjects, they're considered vigorous. If they have any specifications on subjects which they find not vigorous or they need it for the course, they will mention it. And think of it logically. Why would they not want you to take a subject which you're going to be studying in university in a curriculum that they highly recommend? It's just backlashing on their own word then. So think of it very logically, play very smart, and timetabling is key. Like for me, I know for a fact that till 7 in the night, 9 to 7 is my work time in the UK. After 7 o'clock, I eat my dinner, I go out to a pub with my friends, and I just relax, lay back, get some sleep. And but 9 to 7, make sure you use your time properly. Even if it's just like 5 hours a day if you're working, make sure you use it properly. Like kill it in those 5 hours.
So going into economics in specific, the major advantage I get out of a quarter system is that I can do a lot more courses than other people can. They're also far more fast paced, etc., etc. So, um, but the main advantage there is that I can do a lot more of economics and try and figure out what I'm exactly interested in. So right now, like I'm doing a course in behavioral economics. I'm going to do one on like the history of economics. I'll do another one on like macroeconomics. So I'll have the time to do a lot of different economics courses, and that will help me iron out what I exactly want to do. So that's one benefit. Second benefit is that the reality is that after doing economics in most majors, when you like get your entry level jobs, they can be quite rigorous and intense. So doing a core system helps me like work out that work life balance kind of thing, helps me streamline my time. And you know, if I can enjoy like I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and people tell me this is one of the most rigorous courses I can do pretty much in the US. And if I'm still finding a lot of time and going out and having a lot of fun, that keeps me in good stead for like the next step. It'll probably be even more rigorous. So I look at it the positives of it, that the quarter system is definitely rigorous and it keeps you on your toes and you have to work throughout. But I kind of enjoy it. Like I'm never bored. I always have something to do. And I've never felt that I'm like too overwhelmed. And I guess that's because I've taken it easy where I can. I've, you know, made sure when I first joined the school, I took like a very small course load in my first quarter. I made a lot of friends. I spent a lot of time doing other things. Then I built up a bit more. I tried to understand what works for me. I didn't overcommit. So basic stuff like that. Like, of course, it helps you with your major a lot, but what it also really helps you with is getting like specialized knowledge in something that really benefits your major. So, like, I was doing economics, and something that I personally have found a weakness of mine, at least initially, was like technology. I wasn't very into computer science, so I didn't really get it. And when I came to Chicago, I understood the importance of it. And I took a computer science class. I did some uh, data science stuff, and now I'm going to be either minoring or majoring in data science as well, along with economics. So like that's only possible because I've had a lot of flexibility. This is not something I would have expected coming into college, and B, I've had enough courses possible for me to actually extend my major into a double major, which now allows me to apply to different jobs as like an economics major and a data science major, which really benefits me. So that's another
I
thing.
would say another thing about the quarter system is that it's a good thing because you get to explore a lot of classes, but it's also so fast paced that if you don't want to do certain classes, but you still have to do them, you get them over with fast.
Firstly, the main thing is that all of your peers are going to have similar subject choices. And I have a strong belief that when people have similar subject choices, the thinking process aligns, which really helps like a good social life and some really good academic conversations, which you can relate to heavily. On top of that, like you have a lot more people who you can network with who are very likely to enter your field. Like tomorrow, I'm really interested in corporate finance, but I have my friends who are really interested in the stock market or the pure markets. So tomorrow, if I meet someone who's going to be there, I know that in the UK, top of markets, I'm definitely going to know someone. So that's like a huge advantage. But to be very honest, you really don't feel the difference of being in a pure social science school, because the fact that London, so in the UK we have the concept of a university in which, like for example, you have University of Exeter, Oxford, and all, in which you have multiple colleges within one university. So like that in London, if you've noticed, it's UCL, LSE, King's College London. All of these are colleges which are within the University of London. So you really don't feel that difference of a specialized school. But again, the main advantage is academically, you're benefited in terms of networking. It's really helpful. And the range of societies is amazing, like the hedge fund society and stuff. You have some really nice talker speakers who would actually prefer LSE because it's a specialized course school and they know everyone knows what's going on in the field. So like the other day, I remember I'd attended a talk with by the Goldman Sachs MD in the UK. So it's unbelievable because of that. So a lot of students, like including me, and I'm pretty sure all of us have, is complained about TISB's work rigor compared to other schools like Indus who are just chilling around. To be honest, for me, coming into city London and living on my own for the first time in my life was different, like weird. But again, because I was used to the work rigor of TISB, and then coming into a very rigorous college like LSE, where the student satisfaction is 0 out of 100, it was actually not that big a transition from TISB because I was already used to it. I could just concentrate on my personal life in London. So complain about it all you want. It's only going to help you in university. Bear 100%. Legal age is 18. What more do you want? But on a serious note, for me, a a lot of people complain about the gloomy weather, and that's something you really need to see. But I actually really enjoy the gloomy weather, being like a proper Bangalore boy. I need my rains during the thing. I need my rains and chai. So that's something which I can actually do in the UK. And another thing is a lot of people tell me in certain parts of America they feel like they miss home a lot. But for me, it was easier to fit in because the Indian population in London is very high. So you're definitely gonna see a lot of Indians there. And Indian food, like I have Sarvana Bhavan in London. So fitting in was a very good thing. I personally, a very controversial statement, but I absolutely hate the liberal arts system. I cannot do that. Like for me, I cannot do accounting with like it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I came in with the mindset that yeah, I'm never studying English as a subject or any language as a subject in my life ever again. So that's one thing which I really liked about the UK, that you can just concentrate. London's busy life, Canary Wharf. absolutely love visiting Canary Wharf. And the fact that like everything is so accessible, you can just hop on a bus and go anywhere around the UK. It's such a small place.
I actually think this question is pretty interesting because my perspective is probably going to be really different from Aryan's. So he lives like in the middle of like a metropolitan city. I live in Chicago, which is a big city, of course, but I live in like the suburbs of Chicago, and that's where like our university is. It's Hyde Park. So what I really love about our place is like a really big college campus feel. I really value that. One of the big reasons I didn't want to go to the UK was, again, this is all down to your own thing, but I like the fact that I was kind of on a campus and living with people at the same university, and where I lived was where I would go to classes, and I like that entire thing. And that everywhere I go, I kind of know people, and it's like our own little bubble in there. Another thing I really liked about the suburbs is like Hyde Park is considered like uh, an area with really diverse population. So it allows you to meet a lot of different people. Like all of our workers would be like of African American descent or of like different areas. And it's considered to be an area that's really up and coming. And I got to like meet and talk to a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds. Like initially that wasn't the reason I applied, I'll be honest, but genuinely over time it's been a really big learning curve that I've had living there. um, Lastly, what I love about living in Chicago is probably more about my university, but economics is like the most popular university at U Chicago, and it's considered pretty lucrative too. So the conversations I have with like professors there, with people who are really on the cutting edge of their field, are really interesting, and that's something I really value, and probably was the main reason I applied there.
About diversity, that's a big negative of LSE. They say they're a really diverse college, but to be honest, it is very Asian dominated, in which it's Southeast Asian or South Asian. It's comprises pretty much of 90% of the college. Like I've met a lot of people from a lot of backgrounds, like from Europe, America, and stuff. But again, it's about domination, which is something I really didn't like. I would have preferred if it was balanced.
Right.
But I would say,
So
adding on to that though, is that even if your college is like that, London is not like that.
British people really don't care about you. So unless you have a common meeting point or something, they're not as open to talking. Like the first rule that you learn when you come to England is that do not say hello to anyone you don't know.
Yeah, it's
So
a bit of
it's
a different environment than the US or even India. Definitely.